What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to have a look at game week 34, my team selection as it is now. So anyone who's not sure, I'm currently on my wildcard going into game week 34. I've been waiting such a long time to activate it, so we'll go through what my team is looking like now, captaincy, who's going to start, who's on my bench. But actually what I'm going to start doing a little bit more in my videos now is talking to you about the decision making I'm doing, and not just here's my team, but a few of the other decisions that I'm maybe facing, and in the previous week what I decided to do and why I did it a little bit more than I have done in previous videos. So it might be a little bit longer, but I hope it's useful for you guys to learn and understand why I'm making a few of my decisions. So before we do that, a quick review of how game week 33 is going so far. So I'm recording before any of the matches take place on Wednesday or Thursday. So I am on a decent enough score so far. I'm on 78 points with no hits to be taken. It is one of the best ranks for a game week I've had in quite a while, so it's nice to finally bounce back. 100k game week rank because of Ronaldo scoring 34 and Salah on his 19, Trent in there with a 6. I did actually keep Weghorst, so basically my decision going into this week was I needed a player that I was happy on captaining, and I didn't really want to take out any players that had a double game week, because for me the biggest chance of just holding rank, which is what I wanted to do this week, was just to have as many double game week players as I could in this game week. So the players that I could have transferred out were Ronaldo, Harry Kane, Salah, Trent and Robertson. And I didn't really want to sell Kane because I knew I was already benching Kulusevski, so I wanted some exposure in that Tottenham game in case they won big again. I was never going to sell Salah, and Trent, I had so much value tied up in him that I was never going to do that. It was really Watkins and Robertson the only ones that I could afford to sell. Now, I was going to go with Chris Wood, but I realised that that wouldn't really leave me any benefit to going for a more expensive for a defender. So I just went down for a defender to Shah, and it allowed me to bring in Ronaldo, who was my captain. Of course, he didn't play against Liverpool, but 34 points, I was very happy with that, and 19 from Salah, 8 from Weghorst, who I kept and didn't sell, is very good. So I'm hoping for a few more points. I'm not expecting to hold this rank quite as much as I have done so far, but I'm pretty happy with how the game week has gone. Kulusevski, Doherty and Marty on the bench, they will be going on my wildcard. Kulusevski may stay, and we'll get into that later in the video, but moving up from 37k to 20k, I'm about 20 points outside the top 10k now, so the dream is definitely still alive after a monster game week so far. But that's how we've done this week. Let's move on to the important part of what I'm thinking for my wildcard so far going into game week 34. So the wildcard team that I actually have leaves me 0.0 million in the bank. We'll go through the starting 11 and the bench, and then we'll talk about a few of the sort of discussion points that I still have with my team that I need to make before the deadline. Of course, at time of recording, we have no announcement of the Manchester City versus Wolves game or where their double is likely to go in game week 36 or game week 37. I will plan accordingly, but I don't actually think it will change my wildcard team too much, depending on if it goes into 36 or 37. Of course, I'm planning on free hitting in game week 37, so I'll just bring them in on a free hit if they double in game week 37, and I'll use my free transfers over the next couple of weeks to bring them in if they do double in game week 36. So starting in goal, we have gone with Schmeichel. Again, I've spoken a lot about this, and I think he's about the only Leicester defensive option that I think is likely to start all of the games between now and the end of the season. The rotation I don't expect to be there because they will want to keep him fresh and sharp going into all of their European matches. It's a home fixture against Aston Villa this week. I don't love it. I don't think they're defensively that sound, but at 4.9 million, I do think he's still a decent option for us to have in there. I did consider going with Mendy because of the Chelsea double game week, and I do think he's pretty nailed to play. But again, he's only ever scoring 6 or so points for me every week, so I don't think it's worth investing in it over some of the Chelsea defenders. Now, the first defender that we have in here is Cancelo. He's suspended for the first leg of their Champions League semi-final, so I can't see him being rotated very much. And then from game week 36 to game week 38, Manchester City have literally nothing else to focus on apart from closing in on the Premier League title, because the final in the Champions League takes place after the game week 38 fixtures take place. So he's basically, I feel like he's going to miss a minimum of one game between now and the end of the season because of that suspension. So he's definitely in there. If you are looking to save a little bit of money, you could go Laporte. However, I think that I'd want a double up if I'm going Laporte, and Cancelo is definitely the one that I'd want in my team. Next up, we had Alonso. So Chelsea defence is a big talking point, and actually in my team I've got Alonso and I've got Reece James, and I don't have Rudiger in here for the time being. A double game week this week means on a wild card I just kind of have to take the plunge on them, and I've gone with Alonso and Reece James because of that upside. 5 at the back is what they're playing, and these are 2 still big games for Chelsea. I'm expecting from game week 35 onwards there to be a fair amount of rotation. However, going into these doubles in game week 34, I'm expecting a pretty strong lineup for Chelsea in both of those games, at home to West Ham and away to Manchester United. So with that in mind, I've gone with the most attacking and explosive options in the defence, which is Alonso and James. Alonso seems to be back in favour, playing on that left-hand side. I could go to Rudiger instead of James, but with the comments that Tuchel's making about James playing at centre-back some games and at wing-back some other games, just to make sure he can get enough minutes and play every game, I'm pretty happy with going with James, given that he's actually the same price as Rudiger. So Alonso is cheaper and he comes with a bit more of a rotation risk. However, now for me, I'm going with Alonso and James. If Manchester City get a double in game week 36, it's very easy for me to move James or Alonso to Laporte with one of my free transfers going into that double game week, because coming game week 36, I don't think there'll be very many Chelsea players that we want to own that will start both of their matches against Wolves and Leeds in that fixture. I think there's going to be mass rotation against Leeds before the FA Cup final, which means I think that we'll want to be selling our Chelsea assets before a double game week, which might sound crazy, but I just can't see many of these assets playing both games. Maybe why you want to go with Rudiger, and you can hope that he plays both, but I think there's still a chance that he only plays one of the 2 in that double game week. Thirdly, on my Chelsea list, I've gone with Mason Mount. Now, this is partly a budget restriction at the moment that I can't go for Havertz. I don't have that 0.3 million spare with this team to go and afford him. As it says, I've got 0.0 million in the bank. I do like Mount. He's been consistent. I do think he's likely to start every game over the next couple of game weeks. Again, against West Ham and Manchester United, I'm not expecting mass Chelsea rotation, but let's see what happens against Arsenal this evening before making a final judgment. If I could go up to Havertz, I probably would. And the reason for that is just he's playing centrally, he's playing a bit further forward. Yes, Mount is on set pieces and his returns have been good recently, but Havertz has looked so clinical and a lot of what we are doing is going through him. So if I could afford it, yes, I would go up to Havertz from Mount. I can't quite afford it. There are a few places that I'm looking at going for the money, but right now I think Mount is the one that I will own, just because he's a little bit cheaper and it allows me the rest of the team that I've got around him that I don't really want to go and downgrade. Next up, we have Trent. So Everton at home. Just 6 points for Trent against Manchester United, but he very nearly got an assist. If Salah hadn't crossed it to Diaz for the first goal, it would have been a Trent assist, and then he would have been in the bonus, and it would have been 10, 11 points for him. Just, again, great run of fixtures. They are chasing the quadruple. I can't see Klopp resting the likes of Trent, Robertson, Salah over this. They'll just be pushed and pushed right to the end of the season until it finishes to try and win as many trophies as possible. So Trent is in there. A good fixture this week, but it's more what I think he's capable of doing between now and the end of the season. And to partner him, we have his dynamic duo Robertson-Trent in what is a very big defence for me. Robertson again could have had an assist. He got the pre-assist for one of the goals against Manchester United. Again, I can see a lot of clean sheets coming for them between now and the end of the season, and all it takes is an assist from one of these 2 in one of those games between now and the end of the season to then really get in on the bonus points as well, which is very possible given they're on set pieces and the threat they have from open play and the fixtures that they do still have remaining. So I'm going with a very big at the back structure on my wildcard. I don't think there's any chance that this changes. Whether it's double Chelsea defence, I could go double midfield and then go for the likes of Laporte in defence. I have tried a wildcard with this. It does mean I have to go with Son over Kane, and we'll get into that in a minute. But the big at the back system is definitely here to stay on my wildcard. So Robertson's in there. I like their fixtures. I've got all fullbacks as well. So not just clean sheets with these 5, but the attacking threat that they can offer is crazy, and they are still such good value. So there is a little bit of rotation worry with the likes of Alonso, James going forward, but for the short term, I think I'm pretty happy with them. In the midfield, we do keep Salah. So a lot of people were doubting Salah going into game week 33, and he has proven with a single game week what he is still capable of. And comments after the game saying that he can't wait for the Everton fixture. It's a massive game for them. It's a derby. Again, they'll be wanting to throw Everton under the bus, push them towards relegation. Could you imagine a Liverpool quadruple title race and Everton getting relegated? I'm not sure they would like anything more. The Scousers would be unbelievably happy if that came in. So Salah is definitely in here. There's no doubt that he goes. Good run of fixture, and he's a reliable captaincy option. He's found his scoring boots again, and I think he'll continue to chase that golden boot, which he looks like he will secure for another season. And thirdly, in my starting midfield, we have kept Kulusevski. I just think he's such good value. Brentford away this week, and then another good fixtures in the next few. A double game week in game week 36, which is difficult before Burnley and Norwich in the final 2 weeks. They are still chasing the sort of top 4. And again, it is really worthwhile buying into players that you think are still playing for something in the league and still fighting for something. Whereas Leicester, I could go for the likes of Barnes or Maddison in there. Then although they have lots of fixtures, I just don't think they're going to play enough games and they're not motivated enough in the league. So I'd rather go for a player who I think is going to play every game, whereas a Maddison Barnes with an extra fixture, the rotation is just too much of a threat for me. So I've gone with Kulusevski in here because he is one of the best budget players still. Yes, he didn't return in game week 33, but nor did Son and Kane, and we're both still looking at them at his price. I just think he's still such a good option to go and get. Up front with him, we do keep Harry Kane, so I could go with Son here. He is a bit cheaper, but I've gone with Kane just because I don't like enough of the other forward options for me to choose from. Now, I've got a couple of budget options to go with him, and I think 2 is enough. 3 budget options is just a bit of a push if I ever just want to play one striker and don't have any good budget options. Kane can play against anyone, so he is in there. Son is cheaper. Son is finishing really well his chances recently, but Kane is just involved in everything that Tottenham do, so pretty happy just to keep him in there. Brentford away again next week. I might sell Kulusevski before the double in 36 because it is difficult, but I'm pretty happy to keep Kane for Liverpool and Arsenal going into that double. And finally, in my starting 11, we've gone with Pukki. A great fixture this week, which is why he's starting Newcastle at home, and he can rotate in and out my team. He has a good double game week of West Ham and Leicester in 36. He seems to be one of the most sort of consistent forwards at the moment. Yes, Norwich don't score a lot of goals, but he's 5.9 million. I don't really expect that much more from him. If he can just get the odd return here or there in the fixtures that I'm happy to play him in, like Newcastle and like the double game week, if he can sort of get 2 returns across the Newcastle, West Ham and Leicester fixtures, I'd be more than happy with that given the other forwards that we do have. I think it's a bit of a no-brainer to include Pukki on Wildcard just because Norwich are still fighting. They aren't relegated yet. They do have some of these games that if they could win them, they do still stand a small chance of staying up, and Pukki is always going to be involved in the goals if they are scoring, as was shown with a goal and assist against Manchester United. So he does have a few nice fixtures coming up in the foreseeable with Newcastle, as I said, this week, and then West Ham and then Leicester in the double. Again, on penalties as well, I'm pretty happy to start him. If they are going to stay up, he's going to have to score some goals. And on the bench this week, we've got Foster. It's a decent double for Watford with Crystal Palace and Everton at home. So I'm quite happy with Foster. He's 4.1. He's not going to play. They do actually have Burnley at home in game week 35 where he might start. It's an okay double. He's not taking up a lot of budget. He can be on my bench boost in game week 36. That's about all I need from him. We do have Dennis in there as well. I might go João Pedro, but I feel like he's a bit more of a rotation risk with King, although João Pedro is 0.4 million cheaper. Again, I might start Dennis next week at home to Burnley. He can play again in the double, and if he just gets a couple of returns or even one return across those 3 games, I'd be happy enough with that. He's not expecting that much. Again, I think coming back into the team, he's one of the most clinical Watford forwards. They have an okay run of fixtures. Again, with those fixtures against Burnley, Crystal Palace and Everton, if they win all 3 of those, there is still a chance that they stay up and they could overtake Everton, for example. So again, picking Pukki, picking Dennis, players that we know are still fighting for something. Now, alongside him, Martinelli, again, a cheap, one of the best budget enablers. I know he hasn't returned for the past couple of weeks, but they're still fighting. They have an okay double, which includes Leeds at home and then the London derby. They play Everton on the final day of the season as well, who hopefully will either be safe or relegated by then, and then Arsenal will still be fighting for the top 4 in that fixture. So Martinelli is definitely in there because of how cheap he is. He doesn't have to start for me every week, so he's in there. If I needed to free up money for the likes of Havertz, I could downgrade him to the likes of Dewsbury Hall of Leicester, but I'm quite happy with him given that game week 38 fixture as well. And the final one we've got is Gordon of Everton. Now, Everton do have a double of Leicester and Watford in game week 36. I will then be free hitting in game week 37, so I don't need to worry about their double there. He's going to sit last on my bench pretty much every week, but just to be involved in my bench boost, he seems to be on set pieces. He's good from open play as well. Again, one return, even if it's an assist across that good double, would mean that my bench boost would be absolutely crazy because my bench is likely to look of Foster, Dennis or Pukki or even Kulusevski, and then Gordon and Martinelli on my bench boost, which is a really strong bench for a bench boost. And given the starting 11 that I would still be starting as well, I'm very happy with that. Again, the few players that I don't have in here that I'm considering changing up, I could go for a double up in Chelsea midfield, drop Kulusevski, for example, and get Laporte in there. Doesn't quite leave me enough money, so I'd probably have to do Kane to Son as well, which is the other debate that I'm really having. So there's a couple of drafts that I'm working with, but this is the one that I'm pretty happy with now. Let me know your thoughts about my team in the comment section. What would you change? Please leave your questions about your team as well in the comment section. Ask away and I'll do my best to answer them all. There will be a live stream on Saturday morning as well before the deadline as I'm finalising my wildcard. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope the bit of a longer video with a bit more of a discussion has been useful. Let me know your thoughts on that as well, or anything more you would like to see on the channel. That would be much appreciated. Thank you all for watching. Good luck with the rest of Game Week 33 and Game Week 34 if I do not see you again, but I'll be back again very soon.